Hello, beautiful people. It's Sinderfam. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're back again with another video from the Word of a podcast. Let's check it out.
Where the man's the victim.
You
It
spoke
does
on that
happen.
earlier, and I actually had a comment. I
What
feel
what you got?
There is a stigma behind domestic violence where you say the majority of the men get arrested, and sometimes they're not the cause of the domestic dispute. But
That's called the Duluth model.
Duluth
right,
model,
but
Yeah.
I didn't want it to deter people in this scenario, like men, from calling the police, because sometimes you have police that do their due diligence to find out who is the aggressor.
Yeah, I feel like
and
they
if
Yeah.
a
look
man
into
is
it.
calling the
But
police.
you don't know. You
Yes,
don't know
but
how that's gonna go.
I actually do, because I have a really close friend that actually dealt with domestic abuse, and just like police, they go on the scene, they speak to both parties to figure out who the aggressor is. They'll check your hands to see who, if you've hit something.
Sure.
They'll check your body to see if you have bruises, and then obviously my friend had bruises on her arms, and that kind of showed him even holding a
it's
woman
not a
back.
guarantee that the
Right.
guy's gonna get arrested.
It's
but
not.
it is a risk that men have to think about
For
that
sure.
women don't.
For sure, but if she were to hit, how she did her boyfriend and his nose broke, and he called the police immediately. If once they pulled up on the scene and seen that his nose is broken and she's looking gorgeous as ever, they're gonna see that she was the aggressor, and
Maybe.
Perhaps.
the law is
Maybe.
gonna
Maybe.
take
Maybe.
and do what they're
Maybe.
supposed to do.
So this is what you're talking about is based on the state you're in too. So some
Right.
states are, if there's a DV call, someone's going to jail no matter what, right?
Right.
They actually have additional laws which say if we show up for a DV call, someone's going to jail regardless, right? It doesn't even matter. Someone's going right to jail.
Yep.
So the biggest problem with the current DV laws, how they stand, is like things like assault and battery and things like that, they're already illegal. You don't actually have to create additional DV laws for these things because they're already crimes. So what happened with the additional DV laws is they said, well, women need additional protections from big, strong men, right? That's the idea here. But what has happened as a side effect of that is then police show up and the man ends up going to jail, even if he didn't do the DV. And we know this because in the States, where they don't have this Duluth model, they take women to jail for DV more than they do men. And so the additional DV laws are actually kind of unjust in this way.
It's called a restraining order. If anyone, especially under like the age of 25, getting domestic violence and stuff like that, restraining
Ju-
order.
Just one sec. I do have two chats coming through. Woman in chair 6 makes no sense whatsoever. She's the queen of double standards in this panel. Andrew, how do you argue and debate without losing your shit? And then
Well, I think I like having
Yeah,
these.
I just
Well, to answer to the chatter, I like having these conversations with people. I understand that sometimes I say things that seem wildly offensive, but I don't really think they are. I think I'm just kind of logically deducing what a person thinks and why they think it and telling them why I think it. Other people get offended quite often, but they really shouldn't. Like Chair One was making good arguments. Chair One was like, well, wait a second, Andrew, let's test your logic on this. What happens in a scenario where blah, blah, blah happens? I'm like, that's a good argument to engage with. Now we can get to the bottom of each other's worldview. So you don't have to shut down during the argument and just be like, well, I never, clutch your pearls and go, how could he say so? It's like we're just trying to figure out what is and isn't true. And if we're discussing these topics, I think that's fine to do.
Exactly true. And we are allowed to have different thoughts of opinion based on where everybody's coming from or based on the angle people see things or see it. But let's talk about DV case. Exactly. Majority of the time, the men are the ones that are going to be on the losing end, depending on the state law. Exactly. Because majority of the time, when you look at it, many DV cases or DA cases, some of them are instigated by a woman or this it starts with a woman. And this is the problem because many women know that potentially they are not gonna the law favors them more or it favors them most of the time, so they know there are no consequences for their actions, so they get away with it, or some of them will get away with it. Only few times or few cases where some of the women don't get away with it, and that is because there are some cops who do thorough investigation and find out that the woman instigated it or started it. But majority of the time, sometimes the man just takes a fall for it because he is the man or because people see him as a stronger one, or he's seen as a stronger one, so he's been taken into question, or people be like, okay, he's been taken into question. And this is the thing, many women know that they're gonna get away with some actions or some things, so they do it anyways without thinking of the consequences. And is what pains me or what saddens me is the fact that some of the women, after doing this, all of a sudden they start developing some level of amnesia, that they don't even remember what they've done, and play the woman card. Most of the time it's always going to favor or benefit the woman, and this is the problem. And I want to believe this is the topic, or this is the conversation that Andrew and the other rest of the girls are trying to establish, that majority of the, or Brian as well, are trying to establish, because majority of the time it favors the woman. Only few cases does it the woman is held accountable. Let me know what you think.
We have 3 more chats coming through. We have a TTS here from Foreign Gaming.
Foreign Gaming 718 donated $200.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Is not age or strength. Just keep your damn hands to yourself. Why would the weaker person just get away with it? A 16-year-old has a gun, can he shoot Brian and Brian not shoot back cause he's stronger?
Right, of course. Well, of course not. Well, this would be, again, this comes back to the idea of having to, so when me and Chair One were arguing back and forth, I was making this argument back, right? So you'd have to graduate the level even compared to agency. So like, if this would be the same thing with an orangutan. Let's say an orangutan picked up an AK-47. It doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't have agency, but it'll instantly create a justification for you to take down the orangutan, because it could shoot you with this AK-47, and it's like, you don't want to. It doesn't have agency. It doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't mean to. That really doesn't mean anything ultimately, though, because it still is holding an AK-47, right?
We have 2 more chats here. We have Jeff Bader. Andrew, never once in this entire exchange did he explicitly say that the man should hit a woman.
Never did. Not even once.
All right.
I'm just testing the logic of why it would not be appropriate to do so if somebody was who's just, if the argument is just, well, they're weaker, so they should, they should just be allowed to hit you. That seems like it's creating a social order in society where some people have privilege over other people.
We have Lucas here. Hey, Lucas, good to see you in the chat, man. Holy shit, this woman is the apogee of female narcissism and entitlement, and noticed she used the classic feminist trope, a real man. You have no credibility to define a real man.
I do have credibility to find for a real man. My dad's one. What do you mean? I've had great examples of real men, and the real men around me wouldn't be saying things the way that you say.
So you're saying Andrew's not a real man?
Are you saying hypothetically speak? What's your definition of a real man? A real man, I'm not talking about a robot. I'm talking about morality.
You're the one who said real man.
Somebody being real. Somebody being real. I'm from New York.
Real?
We say
Wouldn't
yeah, you're very
slapping
real.
Somebody be keeping it real?
Yeah, I'm keeping it real right
keeping
now.
It real.
Exactly, I'm keeping it real. A real man keeps it real.
Yeah, slapping somebody back. She slaps you, you slap her back.
Sure.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
Keeping it real is with it's a morality thing. Whatever you guys are saying ain't it.
Keeping it real goes wrong.
It's not it.
Well, like for instance,
it's not it.
I agree with you that there has to be some nuance here. Let me give you some examples.
It's not okay for anyone to hit anybody. I know you didn't say that, and I didn't say that. That wasn't my point.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, well, I can give you some examples of where I think, that of course men grant nuances for this all the time, for this social privilege, and probably we should. So here's a good example of this. My wife has had a terrible dream before, like just a horrible dream, and woke up kind of disoriented, right, and upset, and has struck me. It has happened, right? Now, it's like a strike to the arm, and I kind of laugh about it. I kind of giggle about it, right, because it's just silly. And she'd had some kind of like a bad dream that I was out cheating on her or something like that, because women have insane dreams like that all the time. That's how it works. So the thing is like, am I just going to be like, I just turn around and just whoop the shit? No, of course not. Of course not. That would be silly, right? But there's a difference there in intent. And if you're talking about intent, you're talking about intent to hurt. If a woman balls her fist and is punching you in the face hard as she can, there's an intent there to hurt you. And for some reason, I don't want to create a social class where that they have impunity from that on the spot. or the stronger person, because they're victims and are stronger, just have to be victims. That's insane to me. Makes no sense.
First of all, I'm of the opinion no one should be hitting nobody, whether weaker or stronger or whatever they want to term it or name it. No one should be hitting nobody, because have you ever heard of this, that somebody who potentially wasn't even thought or was who was seen as the weaker one hit somebody who happened to be stronger, and the person all of a sudden was unalived or something, or that was the end of it? But I mean, people don't even think of the risk of all of this. And majority of the time, many women know that there are no consequences, or most of them will not face the law, or the law is not applicable to them in most cases. So they get a hang of it, or they do it anyways, because lots of the time, most of them are not held accountable. So they think they can get away with it or do whatever they want to do, and blame it on somebody, or victim blame it on to somebody else. It doesn't work like that, and it doesn't make sense. I think the essence of this conversation is just to establish that just as it is wrong for a man to hit a woman, so should it be wrong for a woman to hit a man, because many women should also remember that there are some consequences, or there are consequences to to the action. And regardless, so many things could easily go wrong or could go wrong. And I guess many people don't want to even think of the possibility of things going wrong, whether the weaker one takes charge or the weaker one does whatever. But in most of the cases, no, people wouldn't be considering the who is weaker or who is stronger. The most important thing is who hit first and who initiated it first. And another thing, a real man is somebody, or would a real man would tell you when you're wrong, or call you to action when you're wrong, or hold you accountable when you're wrong. And a real woman would accept that she is wrong, or accept that yes, this is she should know what to do at the right time, or know not to hit a man. That's and agree that a woman should not hit a man, nor should a man hit a woman. A real woman would know that, and a real woman would respect herself enough not to let it escalate to that point or extend to that point. And a real woman would acknowledge when she is wrong, and know that no one is against you when they call you out in order, or would also hold herself accountable in the cases, or in the possible cases where she is wrong, and not look for reasons to justify her actions. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I'm sure tons of people have interesting things to share. I would really love to share that. Can share the useful information you think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all of that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.